Great question, a deep question. And of course, there are different perspectives. There's some people who hold that the mind is just an epiphenomena of neural activity, literally of neurons firing together, this neurochemical process. Other people feel or believe or have the opinion that the mind is something separate from the brain. If we think about it from the Buddhist perspective, at the most subtle levels, and the gross levels, we can speak about mind and mental functions and perhaps brain separately. But as you go deeper and deeper, at the more subtle levels, there is an intimacy or connection between physical matter and non-physical mental. And I would say that there is an intimate link between the brain and the mind, but it's not a one-to-one relationship. Why? We know that someone can be born with half a brain or have a whole chunk of the brain not present from birth and can still have full mental faculties. So it suggests that there's a plasticity and that in brain matter, that it can reorganize itself. And that's an important clue because it suggests that matter and non-matter, mind, are related but not one-to-one, so that we know that performing mental functions can influence the brain and brain anatomy and brain function, and increasing or losing certain parts of the brain can influence mental functioning. Right? You think of dementia, you think of memory loss after a stroke or a blood clot, etc. My own personal view is that these words, matter, non-matter, mind, brain, kind of exist on a continuum. And depending on what level of consciousness and depth you're at, those terms or concepts begin to get more blurry and fuzzy and begin to overlap. At the subtler levels, I think that probably there's subtle levels of energy from which arise what we call mental functions, language, thought, ideas, memories, and also give rise to physical matter. So in one way you can think that this energy can appear and disappear in physical and non-physical aspects. If I'm only looking at a more gross level, I kind of bifurcate them and think of them as separate. At more subtle levels, they actually are probably interlinked, right? In the same that we know from physics that a photon, which is energy, can be a wave or it can be a discrete particle, depending on how you view it. So in this, similarly, at least from my own experience, and from the experience of sitting with different Tibetan lamas and teachers, there are physical and non-physical energies that definitely can coexist and may be much more interlinked than we currently think.